Hey everybody, so we are here with 6.8 urban sustainability. We just left off talking about infrastructure and the environment. Now we're moving into sustainable urban spaces and what that means for city design and development. So we need to be able to identify and explain the effects of different urban design initiatives and practices. This includes things like sustainable design initiatives and zoning practices, including mixed land use, walkability, transportation-oriented development, and smart growth politics, including something called new urbanism, green belt, and slow growth cities. We're going to get into all that here in just a sec. Praise for urban design initiatives, including the reduction of sprawl, improved walkability and transportation, improved and diverse housing options, improved livability, and promotion of sustainable options. So criticisms also include increased housing costs and also possible de facto segregation and the potential loss of historical or place character. So what is a sustainable city? So there's different focuses. One, reducing the city's impact on the environment, right? That's just one element. But focus two includes something called livability, right? That includes high quality of life with opportunity and stability. So if a place is highly livable, they have elements of education, the availability of employment, access to transportation, economic prosperity, entertainment, social supports, all these other elements that help add to quality of life. So for urban design, sustainable urban design policies, we see something called smart growth and new urbanism. So essentially, these are types of sustainable development policies. Sometimes they're used interchangeably. You might hear smart growth or you might hear new urbanism. And overall, this is an attempt to reduce that urban sprawl, right? They want to develop urban spaces that are sustainable, efficient, environmentally conscious, and typically with this, we see mixed use zoning. In some of the previous models, we see zones that are very like spatial, right? Spatially segregated, whereas with this new approach, we're seeing more mixed use zoning. So all that is meant to create walkable, livable cities while maintaining that sense of place and also increasing residential housing density. So this is kind of like an image, right? This will make sense here in just a bit of what new urbanism is. So this idea of mixed use development, planned urban development that includes multiple uses such as retail, residential, educational, recreational, and businesses, all in the same zone. So this is different from traditional zones that we've gone over that kind of have residential, commercial, industrial, and so on. So this is intended to increase residential density and reduce commute and travel time. So there's not so much dependence on automobiles. Hallmark characteristic of smart growth policies and new urbanism, right? That's kind of what the whole point of these are. So here's one example, right? Up here we have condos or apartments. Notice again, higher residential density. It's walkable. And then right here on that ground floor, we have retail and business spaces. So this idea of mixed use development, we have businesses, we have living spaces, maybe like schools. So it's not so spread out. This idea of walkability is also very important to new urbanism. So I just want you guys to take a second and think about where you live. Can you walk to the grocery store? Can you walk to the library? Can you walk to school? Can your parents walk to work? When you have a place that's walkable, it allows urban residents to have safe, convenient, and efficient ways to walk or bike to important places. So that is a characteristic of mixed-use development and typically decreases urban sprawl and decreases pollution because then you're not using vehicles at that point, right? And this also does include public transportation as well. So infrastructure is also included to safely accommodate and encourage pedestrians and bicyclists. So This is an image from Denmark, super bike friendly place, right? We have a bike lane, we have some parked cars, and then we have the roadway here. So again, it's safe for cyclists to be able to move from one place to another. Texas, for example, definitely not bike friendly. Maybe Austin, Texas, that's about it. So we do see that shift, right, of places trying to consider cycling and also pedestrians. So we also have transportation-oriented development. This is another element of new urbanism. Having access to public transport is also very important. Buses, subway systems, commuter train lines, all that helps to decrease air pollution. It also reduces traffic congestion and allows for valuable urban land to be used to create mixed-use developments instead of just parking lots. About 40% of residents in DC use public transportation to get to work. So here we have the metro system map. That's only their underground system. They also have plenty of bus lines as well. So that helps people move from one part of the city to the other part of the city in a way that reduces traffic and reduces pollution. This idea of green belts is also another characteristic of sustainable urban design. So these are green spaces like parks, agricultural land, or forests around an urban area, and that is meant to limit urban sprawl. So sometimes this is called an urban growth boundary, like it does not allow urban growth to go into these green spaces or these green belts. This is a protected area, and it's meant to limit pollution, protect wildlife, and also offer a little bit of like that green environment to its residents. So historically, this was used in Great Britain, but the idea is now one of the main hallmarks of sustainable urban design. And overall, this idea goes hand in hand with something called slow growth cities. So this is another sustainable urban design policy that is meant to reduce urban sprawl. And essentially, this is achieved by implementing green belts or zoning policies to redistrict the development of land to where it's not being developed so quickly. It utilizes urban growth boundaries to place a geographic limit on development in a city. So here we have positives and negatives, right? All these positives that we went over, a lot of really good things, but there are some negatives. Housing costs typically increase. So new developments are typically desirable. So real estate prices rise and are not affordable for low-income residents. So because of that, we see de facto segregation. So this is segregation that is not like put in the books, right? This is not policy, but this is segregation that happens as a result of increasing prices. So low-income families and people of color can no longer afford to live in the city and are forced to move out. And this is something that we see happening maybe a little bit more in US cities. And also one of the negatives includes potential loss of historical or place character, right? Place's uniqueness. Sometimes this brings